Just over 200 years ago, the newly created United States elected its first president, George Washington, unanimously. Since then, there have been a total of 56 presidential elections. Of these 56, nearly one-third of them have been won without a majority of public support. As we can see from this poster, in the year 1824, John Quincy Adams won the presidency with only 29.8% of the vote. Then in 1860, Abraham Lincoln won with only 39.9% of the vote. Then in 1968, Richard Nixon won the presidency with 43.4% of the public support. Then again in 1992, as well as 1996, Bill Clinton won the presidency both times with 43 and 49% of the vote. Now this problem has been identified by both Todd Donovan and Shaun in their book, Reforming the Republic. Now even though these presidents all won the presidency without a majority public support, they all had their positives and negatives while in office. One such example is President Abraham Lincoln, who, while in office, ended the Civil War as well as slavery and reunited the Union. However, Mr. Lincoln disregarded civil liberties by suspending habeas corpus and arresting nearly 15,000 Northern civilians with little or no cause. Another president, Richard M. Nixon, also brought the world one giant step closer to world peace by bringing troops home from Vietnam, as well as reducing the U.S.'s role as world policeman. However, Mr. Nixon was involved in numerous scandals that led to his impeachment. These scandals include tax fraud, Watergate, as well as the using of public funds for his own personal reasons. One final president we'll look at is Bill Clinton. While in office, he lowered taxes for nearly 15 million lower and middle class families while supporting a bolstering economy. However, Mr. Clinton was also impeached for having a scandal with one of his staff members. Now, as one can see, how we elect the president is flawed, but one must wonder, how can we fix this problem? For this, we identified two reasonable solutions that will be later discussed by Greg Horsley. I will now send it over to him. Greg?
Thank you, Tom. While there are multiple ways to reform our current election system, we believe the two best options stem from instant runoff voting, otherwise known as IRV. The two alternatives we propose are IRV and a modification of IRV known as Coombs Rule. While these two options sound very similar, they are in fact quite different from one another. The IRV method is used all over the world, including countries such as Australia, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. This process is also used in local governments within the U.S., as well as student governments much like the University of Iowa. To better understand how IRV works, we will watch this short clip from fairvote.org.
Here's how instant runoff voting works. It combines a first-round election and runoff election into just a single election to find a majority winner.
I'm candidate A. And I'm B. Let's say we're running against each other, and there are 15 voters. You get 8 votes, and I get 7. You have a majority. But let's say someone who agrees with you on most issues joins the race.
Uh-oh.
Yep. This time I get 6 votes, you have 5, and candidate C winds up with 4.
Hold on. You're saying I lose?
That's right. With old-style plurality voting, the winner doesn't need a majority. So I win, even though most voters would prefer you over me in a 2-candidate race. The majority split its vote once the third candidate got in. That's the spoiler effect.
That spoiler did me in.
Some communities just let the candidate with the plurality of the votes win, even if the majority opposes that candidate. But other jurisdictions hold a whole new runoff election between the top 2 candidates to find the majority choice. The runoffs cost a lot and usually have a big drop-off in voter turnout. In a separate runoff election, only the top 2 candidates would advance. In the runoff, the supporters of candidate C would have to change their vote to A or B. Instant runoff voting accomplishes the same thing without the need for a whole new election.
Voters still just have 1 vote, but can rank more than 1 candidate in order of preference. You use the rankings on the ballots to determine a winner, like a runoff election, but instantly.
I'm liking this, eh? I think.
You should be. This voter has marked our young opponent as her first choice, and you as her second. After adding up the first choices from all the ballots, there's no majority winner, and our opponent is in last place. But the people who ranked C first haven't wasted their votes. Instead of a whole separate runoff election between the top all the ballots again in the instant runoff. And people who rank C first have their ballots added to the totals of their next choice.
Back to 8 votes for me.
Now you have a majority, so you're the winner. With old-style plurality voting, the majority split its votes and let me slip in. But with IRV, voters wind up electing someone who more closely matches their preferences. No one has to worry about spoilers, and the winner is the one we should have had all along.
Me? Of course.
You know this is just pretend, right?
Instant runoff voting. Majority winners, full voter choice, and 1 round of voting.
Or something like that.
The other alternative that we propose is known as IRV-Coombs rule. IRV-Coombs rule operates along the same principles as IRV. However, instead of eliminating the candidate with the least first place votes, we're eliminating the candidate with the most last place votes. This causes the candidate who is disliked the most to be eliminated. To help you understand this concept, I will now walk you through the process. If you look here, it is set up with 4 alternatives and 15 voters. Each of the voters are represented here with their preferences. So the first step is to look at the first round and see if there's a clear majority. So since A has 8 votes, A is the clear winner with the majority. Now if we look at this case, it's the same setup with different preferences listed. You look at the first round like you did before, and there's no clear majority winner. So now you have to look at the last place votes, and we are looking to see who has the most last place votes. B is eliminated with 8 votes. So B is out of the equation. Next up, you look back at the first round, and since B did not affect the first round, we're going to have to do the elimination process again. So we are looking at the last place votes, and now A is eliminated with 9 votes. And you can see that this did change the first place votes this time, so now you look at the first place votes. And C wins with 8 votes. So in this case, C would be the winner with a majority of 8 to 7. Ooh. Okay. Now, each of these processes, now that we've explained each of these processes, we have another form in which we can show you a little more easier. So if you look here, it's a simple flow chart, and this applies to both IRV, Coombs rule, and IRV. So first you count the first place votes, and then you ask yourself, does a candidate have a majority? If yes, the winner is found. If not, you move to this step, where you eliminate the candidate with the last place candidate. Now for IRV Coombs rule, this is going to be the candidate with the most last place votes. And for IRV, this is the candidate with the least first place votes. Once you have found the last place candidate, you distribute the eliminated candidate's ballots. And from there, you move back to this question. And you ask yourself again, is there a candidate with a majority? If yes, the winner is found. If no, you repeat this until the winner is found. While there is a possibility for a tie within any round, fairvote.org has established a rule that will solve this problem. If at any point 2 or more candidates or propositions are tied for the least popular position, the ballots in their piles are redistributed in a single step, all the tied names being treated as eliminated. In the event of a tie in the winning position, which would imply that the elimination process is continued until the ballots are reduced to 2 or more equal piles, the election should be resolved in favor of the candidate or proposition that was strongest in the terms of first choices. So basically what this is saying is that if there is a tie that does not influence any of the candidates within the winning position, so either first or second, all candidates in the tie are eliminated. If the tie takes place within the winning position, so for first place, the winner would be the candidate who had the most first place votes in the first round. Another tiebreak option is counting how many ballots rank each of the 2 candidates higher to see which would have won in a head-to-head race. While we understand that both alternatives provided would solve the current problem, we feel that IRV Coombs rule would be the best alternative for the United States to adopt. We feel this way for a number of reasons. First, it can prove to be less costly than traditional elections. Second, it can reduce negative campaign and attack ads because candidates are trying to ensure their share of the vote. Third, it can eliminate the spoiler candidate. And finally, it ensures a majority rule in presidential elections. IRV Coombs rule is a great alternative to the current problem in presidential elections. While I realize there are multiple problems in our election system, we believe this reform would move us one giant step closer to solving the bigger problem. Until next time, America, thank you.